on the India Growth Mission, we are talking about MSMEs. Truly, in a sense, the backbone of the Indian economy, one of the largest employment generators and a segment of business that has been battered by COVID-19 and the successive waves that we have seen. So today we will take a status check on what is happening with MSMEs. Have schemes like the ECLGS actually helped some extent of recovery? And of course, MSME is a large space, so we will delve into which sectors are still hurting, where are they on the path of recovery, and what else they need in terms of help or a boost. Because after all, India's growth also depends largely on how our MSMEs grow. To speak on this on the show today, I'm joined by Surendra Kumar Dixit. He is the Chief General Manager of Other Credit, Punjab National Bank. Rajan Raje, Chairman of the MSME Forum at the Bombay Chamber of Commerce and Industry, joins us today on the show. I'm also speaking with Ashok Saigal, Co-Chairman, CII's National MSME Council. Let me begin with your view, Mr. Saigal, because you've been tracking so closely what MSMEs have gone through, and recent reports are suggesting that there is a stark improvement through pre-COVID levels. The amount of credit which has been available to MSMEs, especially through the schemes I talked about, the ECLGS schemes, have reduced, and part of this is also because recovery has been sharper. Would you agree with this assessment?
I would generally tend to agree with you, because I think the feedback we are getting from MSMEs is a level of optimism and a feeling that the worst is behind us. And that is, of course, the vast majority. As you mentioned earlier, there are sectors which are still hurting. But I think by and large, there is a feeling that the worst is behind us. The kind of assistance given through the ECLGS scheme particularly seems to have helped tremendously. And one of the reasons I say that is that out of about 3 lakh crores that have been sanctioned, the actual drawing has been about 15-20% less than the sanctioned amount, which to me indicates that people feel that whatever additional credit they have been sanctioned is no longer necessary. And naturally, any loan which they may take, whether under ECLGS or any other scheme, comes with its own obligation of cost and the duty to repay it. So I think with that in mind, I would say by and large, it's good. Now, the sectors which we feel still are hurting is partly the health and medical sector, for which additional facilities were announced, and much more than that, the hospitality and travel sector, which with the recent Omicron third wave and a fear of the next wave, which is being talked about, is still in some sort of recovery mode. So I think those are the sectors which are bad. Of course, the other sector, which there is no hard data, unfortunately, but it is very deserving of help and assistance, is the unorganized sector, the micro industries, the people who are not on the radar of any of these schemes. So that is something which is also recovering. When you see the figures in the last 2 days of the kind of demand or the kind of sales that happened at Holi, it is encouraging. And we hope that that will trickle down and spread out to the micro sector also. So that is what I would like to say.
From the credit point of view, Mr. Dixit, I'd like to bring you in here and just get a sense of what the demand has been for the MSME space. Of course, if I take out of the equation the first year or the first year and a half of COVID-19, when these companies generally needed capital just to be able to survive, would you say that the situation has vastly improved, or are there still some very vulnerable segments among them?
Tamanna ji, initially after COVID first wave, the entire MSME sector, except few sectors like pharma, other sectors were badly impacted. And after some time, when the COVID receded, the demand was increased, but later on, due to second wave, then third wave of Omicron, there was impact. But now what practically I am seeing as a banker, the demand is now picking in most of the sector, and only few sectors, as already told by Saigal Saab, like hospitality, travel, tourism, and one more sector you may call, that is educational institutes, Other than those, in most of the sectors now demand is picking, and that is reflected in the growth of MSME sector in most of the public sector bank as well as in the private sector banks. So vulnerability now is coming down and it is reducing, and in coming days, as per the support provided by the government as well as from the RBI, definitely the growth trend of MSME will come back.
Just to get a sense, Mr. Dixit, what has been the drop in demand for funds under the ECLGS scheme that you have been seeing, say, year on year?
Actually, ECLGS, the total in first part, it was given 3 lakh crore by the government, and then again 1.5 lakh crore, and now in the recent budget it had been given 50 lakh crore, 50,000 crore. So total 5 lakh crore has been given by the government to support the MSMEs, but actual disbursement and actual sanction has been just 50% of that, because there was no demand, there was no consumption in the market, so there was no demand. That is why till now, if you see the actual data is not available, it is available up to the November only. And as per the November data, it is only 2.82 lakh crore sanction and 2.28 crore disbursement.
Mr. Raje, what would be your assessment in terms of revival of this sector? I mean, undoubtedly, they were the worst hit during COVID-19. Small businesses did not have that kind of backing, and that trickle-down effect also took place in terms of the employees who were cut, etc. Do you think that there is some, extent of revival that we are now seeing in this space, and what are the challenges that remain?
Yes, I do agree with Mr. Saigal that yes, there is definitely a revival. The confidence level has gone up. Obviously, the ECLGS scheme helped initially because after the first wave, the shock, unexpected development, and nobody was probably prepared to accept this kind of a shock or a disruption. So that ECLGS scheme definitely helped first time. By the second wave or the third wave, probably some learning had already happened. And as a result of that, as everybody said, that maybe though there was allocation of 5 lakh crore, the withdrawal or the people have not availed the entire amount. Partly it could be also because not many the MSMEs were organized to go to the bank, prove their credentials, prove their requirements. But overall, I think the situation has definitely improved. Majority of the MSMEs are back on track. Yes, we all know that hospitality industries definitely suffered, and they will probably start recovering from 27th of this month when the international flights hopefully will start again. But in all, yes, the situation is definitely better. There is a lot of learning in last 2 years. Today, the MSME has also learned how to cope up with these kind of situations. They have probably adopted online system. They have probably adopted some discipline in the financial segment. So overall, I think, yes, the situation is definitely better.
Mr. Raje, what has been the survival rate, though? When we talk about MSMEs needing less ECLGS funding, some of the pain easing away, and of course that's because of demand recovery. It's all linked to the reduction in infection and then restrictions. But did all of them make it through COVID-19? Because when we talk to individual sectors, when we talk to hospitality, when we talk to travel, tourism, leisure, some of those service sector companies and that industry, they report back that not all businesses have even survived. Is that something that you've seen as well?
Yeah, I honestly believe that, yes. I mean, I was just talking to your colleague a few days back, and he said the official data says that only 6,000 MSMEs have closed during the last 2 years. And it is extremely difficult to do. Because out of 6.4 crore, obviously majority of them are micro. And there is no official data on that. But even then, 6,000 units closing down in last 2 years looks very, very difficult to believe. I'm sure the number would be much higher. If we have the official data collection, the number would be high. But I would say that the reason was not only COVID. COVID probably precipitated the entire situation. Overall, the segment was not organized. They were not future ready. In one sentence, if I have to say, probably they were not future ready. And those were the units which definitely had a lot to fight with.
Mr. Saigal, let me just get your perspective on this. The survival rate of MSMEs and which parts of these are flourishing. I mean, we hear a lot about exports now picking up and export-oriented MSMEs picking up. Are they, in a sense, leading the charge, and have all of them survived COVID-19?
Tamanna, it's impossible to say all of them have survived. I mean, that would be a very, very brave and optimistic statement. In any effect, any impact like this, there have been unfortunately casualties, and that is very, very unfortunate. I think coming back to your specific question, I think yes, exports are picking up. As everybody is aware, freight rates have gone sky high for exports. A container that used to cost about $3,000 to $5,000 to ship all the way from an inland place like Delhi to Europe is now $15,000. Now, taken as a percentage, we do certain exports, and a typical container we would ship would be $40,000 FOB value. To my buyer, that would mean an increase of 10% due to the freight costs in the past. Now, today, that is no longer 5 or 10%. Today, that is 25%. Now, that is something which at the moment, both from the exporter side and the buyer side, people are facing up to it and somehow absorbing it to whatever degree they can. But this is not something which can sustain in the long term. I think this is a major threat to Indian exporters vis-a-vis an exporter who is located more closely geographically to your buyer, because this is a cost disadvantage which we will have to overcome. On the other side, in the last 1 year particularly, we have seen tremendous increases in the price of raw materials which are going in. Now, I don't know about other exporters, but many exporters, and we also, enter into long-term contracts because our buyer in turn has to make commitments, and it's common practice in many industries outside of India that OEMs will request a 1-year commitment of prices so that they know what their costs are going to be. And to maintain that in the last 1 year has been extremely challenging. It has hurt the margins tremendously. Now, in certain cases, indexation was possible, and that has helped. The other side is the domestic business. MSMEs, which were doing business on long-term contracts, which were ongoing, had fixed rate contracts, which also got elongated, and they were hit very badly by things like increase in metal prices, whether it is steel or aluminum or copper, or it is polymers. And of course, everybody's heard about the shortage of chips and the price of chips going up tremendously. So all these are factors which are going to cause a reorientation and a readjustment of the businesses that are currently existing. So I think this is a challenge which we must face up to, and the competitive advantage of certain businesses will go up and certain will go down. On the other hand, those who have been able to adjust, whether it is to the disruption caused by COVID because of people not being able to come to work or your goods not being able to reach the market, they will certainly come out stronger and benefit. It's like any other challenge. You face up to the challenge is an opportunity. If you can adjust to it, you will come out stronger. If you can't, you will end up being weaker. Now, this is where I think one of the challenges for MSMEs is there, how to adapt to the new normal, and for the government to assist not just through monetary benefits like they've done through ECLGS, but reskill and reorient those MSME segments which are in trouble so that they can adjust to the new normal or change their mode of doing business. For instance, if you look at the last 2 years, the number of people offering home deliveries against online order booking, be it your vegetable seller, be it your grocer, be it anybody else, has tremendously increased. Now, this is a strength which has come in, and I feel that this will help those to certainly go ahead and continue to provide a good impetus to the Indian economy.
So, coming back to that point, Mr. Saigal, and you've made a very key observation about reskilling. Do you think that the core nature of the Indian MSME has managed to adapt to a new post-COVID reality, the adoption of technology or a more streamlined way of doing business? Is that what you're also observing?
Well, I think certainly a lot of people have adjusted and a lot of adoption of technology has taken place. At the same time, those who have not adopted have realized and accepted that they also need to reskill, understand the digital world, which is such an important part of doing business today. And they're keen to use those tools to increase the productivity, lower the costs, and give a better response to the buyers. So those are all positive things. It is work in process for those who have not yet adapted, but it is work in process. It's not something which is not happening. So it may take a little longer for certain segments and certain sectors, but I'm confident that, again, the general thinking of people is in the right direction and MSMEs will adopt to it. We also in CII are partnering with many of the IT companies and payment platforms to spread this message further. We've just done a pilot project in Maharashtra. Target is to have 3 lakh small and micro businesses exposed to the digital way of doing business and have at least 50,000 out of them enroll in digital payment and digital business systems over the next 3 years. So this kind of move is happening and we're getting an excellent response, and I'm confident that this change will happen to everybody's benefit.
Absolutely. So MSMEs seem to be out of the woods, some of them. Of course, many have not survived, but there are fresh challenges on the horizon, including peaking commodity prices. There is a geopolitical situation that is continuing to brew and is impacting the world. And we'll get to that impact as well. But Mr. Dixit, I want to come back to you on the question of what is happening due to the massive amounts of credit that has been extended to these businesses so that they can survive. I mean, India's direction on dealing with the economic fallout of COVID-19 has very clearly been that we will not give doles, we will extend credit more easily so that you can survive. Can you highlight the NPA trends across geographies when it comes to MSME lending? Is that something that you're worried about at all, that whether these companies, these small businesses will be able to pay back these loans?
What my experience as a banker says that the collection efficiency, which was 80% in May 2021 after the impact of COVID, now when situation is normalizing, the collection level has gone up to 98 to 99%. So now even quarter by quarter, what figures we are seeing, the NPA, I'm not talking about the net NPA because net NPA is coming out of the provision. I'm talking about the gross NPA. So that trend is showing that now gross NPA is coming down, not only in my bank but in most of the bank. If you will compare the data for the last 1 year, in every quarter, now gross NPA of MSME is coming down. So that clearly shows that now the growth, not only growth is picking up, demand is picking up, but also the recovery part of MSME and this NPA trend is also reducing.